Snow Lake has two hard rock lithium projects in Manitoba. The two lithium projects, we have an initial resource of about 8 million tons, grading about 1% lithium, compared to other junior lithium companies that are developing projects. On an EV to resource ton basis, we are probably one, if not the most undervalued lithium companies listed anywhere, let alone on NASDAQ. Lithium prices are down, so there's a lot of downward pressure on all of the lithium stocks right now. But as you indicated, it's a long-term trend. Looking at the recent decline in the overall market, being a NASDAQ-listed company, we see that actually as an opportunity to increase our resource base through potential acquisitions. The equipment that we're working on right now for this interview has lithium-ion batteries in it. My laptop is running on a lithium-ion battery. My phone runs on a lithium-ion battery. If you look at the supply-demand dynamics over the next decade, and if you look at the EV transition, there is a huge disconnect between the demand for lithium, which is expected to more than double by 2024, and the supply. The supply is lagging demand dramatically. Our strategy is twofold. We intend to grow organically through our existing Snow Lake projects, but we also look to be opportunistic and acquire additional projects to ultimately grow our overall lithium resource. We are looking at a number of acquisitions right now. There's 3 active ones on my desk right now that we're doing due diligence on.
So there's a pipeline of potential acquisitions. Welcome, everybody, to Wall Street Reporter's Discovery Day live stream, October 31st. This is where we bring you those stocks which have that multi-bagger upside potential, companies going after massive market opportunities that are at a key inflection point and with multiple catalysts for upside in place right now. And we are back with Snow Lake Resources, which is developing a major, or two major projects in North America, in Canada. Companies listed on NASDAQ, which is very unique in the battery metal space. And again, we're back with Frank Wheatley, the CEO. Frank, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Jack. Good to be here.
Frank, the lithium market has been taking a bit of a hit. We know it's a generational megatrend. The EV boom is really just in, not even the first inning. We know where this is going. Lithium is critical for battery metals. And as always, these things, stocks, markets never increase. They don't ever go in a straight line. It's like a path. It's always like this with dips and valleys on the way to the top. This is no different. I want to talk about what you're doing exactly right now, because you're really in a unique position to take advantage of this downturn because you're a NASDAQ listed company. You can pick up acquisitions, etc. But for anybody that's new to the story, just can you give us a quick snapshot of Snow Lake and some of your projects with lithium?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me on the live stream. Snow Lake has two hard rock lithium projects in Manitoba. Manitoba is one of the provinces of Canada. It's actually located in the geographical center of North America. The two lithium projects, we have an initial resource of about 8 million tons, grading about 1% lithium. It's up in the Snow Lake region of Manitoba, which, as you may or may not know, is a very historic mining jurisdiction. Hudbay currently operates their Lawler mine up there. Valley operates the T3 mine up in the same area. So it's a very historic and current mining jurisdiction, very pro-mining jurisdiction. And we're about 700 kilometers north of Winnipeg. Winnipeg is the capital of Manitoba. Winnipeg also has a place called CentrePort, which is the largest inland port in North America. Access to air cargo, rail, truck, and that basically is a conduit to what people are calling Auto Alley in the US. You're aware of all of the giga battery plants that are being constructed in the US. Manitoba is ideally positioned to supply lithium into those battery plants for the overall EV transition.
Okay, so this is very compelling. So you have this project, which is advanced stage, and we're going to be talking about the path to getting into production, because that's, you know, on your first live stream, you did mention that is the goal, is to actually get this into a producing mine. That is your background in, you know, mining production. You're located near all the infrastructure, which makes, again, very compelling for anybody that's, again, we're speaking to a more generalist audience right now. A lot of U.S. investors, a lot of more tech investors, mainstream investors. They understand the EV, the market opportunity. They may not be mining stock investors. So I think we want to keep that in mind in explaining the story, explaining the upside opportunity. So you have this resource. What is you have this 8 million tons, and what is that worth right now? What are the comps? Because the stock is trading at an $18 million valuation right now, approximately US. What's 8 million tons worth based on comps in the lithium space?
If you look at us compared to other junior lithium companies that are developing projects on an EV to resource ton basis, we are probably one, if not the most undervalued lithium companies listed anywhere, let alone on NASDAQ. We actually see the NASDAQ listing as a huge advantage for us. The majority of junior mining companies you'll see will be listed either on the Toronto Stock Exchange or the Australian Stock Exchange. But I think we're only one of 2 or 3 mining companies that are listed on the NASDAQ.
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to click that like and subscribe button to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also get the notifications to get updates on all our latest videos. And of course, make sure you get a copy of my #1 bestseller book, 10 Bagger Blueprint, #1 bestseller on Amazon. Gives you my proven framework, the proven system for finding stocks that can go up 10x to 100x. Now look, I've created over $1 trillion in wealth for investors over the course of the last 25 years. And this book gives you that proven framework, a proven 10-step system for finding those stocks, which can go 10x to 100x. It tells you the signals to look for, when to get in, when to get out. It goes into fundamentals, technicals, charts, all the stuff that you need. So again, 10 Bagger Blueprint on Amazon, and here's to your 100x.
Yeah, and by the way, I think that's a key advantage, which actually is going to add a lot of value. Because again, I think there is no question. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but look, the EV boom. This is where in the early stages, investors that are looking for pure play on electric vehicles, battery, they need to be positioned in battery metals, because we don't know who's going to be the leader in the electric vehicle space. Ford, Tesla, who knows? Honda, Toyota, we don't know. It could be Kia makes beautiful looking cars, but they will all need battery metals. They will all need lithium. And again, this is basically you're supplying the picks and shovels for the EV boom. Now, because you're a NASDAQ, what I think that's going to mean is that at some point, when investors discover this thesis of the EV boom, how do they play the market? They're going to be looking for plays. And again, American investors, they don't want to go to the Canadian markets. It's too exotic for them. NASDAQ is going to be a tremendous value. But back to the question, or again, the 8 million tons, typically I know companies, Australia, usually is it 40, 50 million? Is that typical comps for that type of resource? Is that the...
If you look at other companies with similar resources, that would be a typical comp. Unfortunately, we're in a bit of an overall down market right now. The general market is down. Excuse me, lithium prices are down. So there's a lot of downward pressure on all of the lithium stocks right now. But as you indicated, it's a long-term trend. The equipment that we're working on right now for this interview has lithium-ion batteries in it. My laptop is running on a lithium-ion battery. My phone runs on a lithium-ion battery. If you look at the supply-demand dynamics over the next decade, and if you look at the EV transition, there is a huge disconnect between the demand for lithium, which is expected to more than double by 2024, and the supply. The supply is lagging demand dramatically.
Yeah, no, it's a tremendous opportunity. So one of the things that I like from an investor's perspective is I like stocks which have that, what I call this built-in profit, right? So this arbitrage opportunity where you're coming into a stock that's undervalued based to its peer group based on the comps, right? Again, companies which have that similar type of resource would be trading at 40, 50 million. You're at about 17 million right now. So you have basically a double or triple built in theory when this valuation gap closes. So now all we got to do is see what are going to be the catalysts to close this gap. Frank, I want to ask you something. Now, you've been the company went through some, I don't know I don't know how to phrase it, but basically the bottom line is you're re-engaging with the investor community. The company has been quiet over the last year. There's been some internal shuffles or turmoil, whatever. That's all been resolved. You're re-engaging with investors. You've been speaking at institutional conferences. I know you've been having a lot of calls with institutions, with funds. What are some of the questions? I'm curious. What are some of the questions that like money managers are asking you? What are some of the conversations that you're having? What's their level of interest in what Snow Lake is doing?
I think from an institutional perspective, everyone understands the mega trend. Lithium is the sort of the predominant battery metal in that trend. And again, they're looking at the disconnect between supply and demand, and they're looking for companies that actually will be in a position to produce and supply lithium into this EV transition. What we intend to do with our projects, we're at the preliminary feasibility stage right now. We're doing all our environmental baseline, which is all routine stuff that needs to be done to put a mine into production. Certainly in Canada and the US and Europe, all the governments have come out with critical minerals policies. And one of the main pillars of those policies is streamlining the whole permitting process to bring these mines online in a shorter period of time than historically. Otherwise, the supply is never going to catch up to the demand over the next decade.
Okay. Right now, you have these two projects which you're going to be putting into production. Now, this is how far away is this? Because you have to go through, there's a process to get there. What is that like? How far are we from that, from the first ton coming out of the ground or whatever?
The process takes time. There's very standard steps you have to take. As I say, we're in the process of doing our feasibility studies right now. We'll have to set up for permitting. We hope to be in a position by the end of 2024 next year to submit our permit application. Assuming that the governments are true to their policies and streamline permitting, we would hope in a perfect world to have a permit in hand at the end of 2025. Then it's about a year or two construction. So we'd be looking at 26, 27 in order to have commercial production. However, there's a number of companies that are looking at what's called DSO, direct shipping ore. And what that means is you're shipping ore that you mine to a processing facility. And Manitoba, up until about a month ago, had the only producing lithium mine in Canada, the Tanko mine, been in production for the past 5 years. They are a potential candidate to toll mill some ore, which is what the DSO is. What that does is provides an early cash flow opportunity for companies like Snow Lake. So while we're constructing the plant, we can ship ore to the Tanko mine. It gets processed and there'll be a split of the profits from that. So essentially it becomes a self-funding mechanism for the capital cost to build out the mine.
Okay. So the takeaway is this: the actual mine. Now, again, to separate Snow Lake from many of these, resource companies out there, most of them are explorers. They're looking for the product. They're looking for something that's going to be economically feasible, and that's only maybe I think is it 1% of projects actually go into production,
Very
maybe
few.
less than 1%.
Very few. Yes.
It's very small. It's like biotech. Like out of thousands of drugs potential candidates, it's one out of
A few.
that's like 1 out of 500 that actually get approved. And the same thing with with mining. This is the discovery business, right? Just like biotech, mining, same exact thing. But you already have it, so we already know that you have this. You have the resource. We know what's there, and now you're going through the process of getting into this production, which is going to take a couple of years. But the question is this: now, why should investors want to buy the stock right now? What's the reason? What's the reason for them to buy it? So, what are the catalysts? What's the path? Because again, as you get closer to production, there's multiple milestones ahead. Can you talk about some of the upcoming milestones? What's the path to, and how? Again, I think value is going to be created as you progress along the path to this production. Can you mention some of those milestones?
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, we're initiating a pre-feasibility study. We have completed a preliminary economic assessment, which essentially says, yes, this is a project of merit. It can be economic. Now you need to move to a pre-feasibility study, which we're going to initiate this fall. That will do some additional engineering. It'll do some additional metallurgical test work. It'll update all of the capital costs, the operating costs, and the economics of the project. So essentially, you're sharpening your pencil, if you will. As I said, concurrently with that, we're doing all the environmental baseline work, which is a necessary input into the environmental permitting, which we hope to be able to initiate by the end of next year. If permitting takes a year, then we'd be looking at the end of 2025 to put shovels in the ground to start construction of the mine. That's at the point where the DSO and the early cash flow opportunity that I was mentioning would kick in.
Okay. But the reality is this. The reality is this stock there's other catalysts in place, which we're going to be talking about right now, which is a reason for investors to look at the stock right now. Because again, these things right now the stock is deeply undervalued based to its peer group. And you have really some interesting catalysts which can really make this thing move. Now, you're a NASDAQ battery metals vehicle, right? Or a company, really, it's a company. But now, again, this I think gives you tremendous opportunity to do acquisitions of other mining companies, other projects. Now, you just recently partnered with a company called Critical Discoveries and to grow. I think that the press release said basically to grow the existing resource, right? To grow the existing resource, again, which still has upside potential, and also acquire some additional projects. Frank, can you tell our audience a little bit about who Critical Discovery, who these people are, what's their track record, and what exactly they're going to be doing with you?
Right. I think just overall, our strategy is twofold. We intend to grow organically through our existing Snow Lake projects, but we also look to be opportunistic and acquire additional projects to ultimately grow our overall lithium resource base. Critical Discoveries is a private group of exploration geologists. One way to describe them is they're project generators. Their focus is in generally Manitoba and Ontario, where they have spent their entire careers. And we are looking at them to source out undiscovered potential lithium projects. So, as I indicated, they're essentially a project generator. They are actually out in the field right now looking at a number of pieces of ground that, given their background and working locally in Manitoba and Ontario, we assume no one else knows about those projects. So that's why we partnered with them. They tend to have an insight, being locals, into projects that a lot of other people have either overlooked or are looking for different metals, gold, copper, silver, as opposed to lithium. That's about all I can say. I certainly can't give you details as to where they're looking because that's why we engage them.
Okay. So bottom line is the upside potential for Snow Lake is far beyond the existing resource, right? This is what you have is really just the start. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Ultimately, we're looking to grow our overall lithium resource base. We have a good initial start in the Snow Lake projects. We're looking to acquire additional projects, either be they grassroots projects or projects that are further on in development. So that could be staking, which is potentially open ground, or it could be acquisitions of existing projects where some initial exploration work has been done and lithium has been discovered.
Okay. So yes, this is, again, I think it's a very compelling situation. Again, I can't underemphasize how valuable being on NASDAQ is going to be for Snow Lake, especially once you start to get some traction. I think as you move closer on some of these milestones with the existing resource, as the resource expands, anything else, it's going to be, again, very compelling, especially for US investors. But it's much easier for institutions to buy a NASDAQ listed company than it is in Canada. And so again, I think the valuations, I think NASDAQ stocks will be trading at a premium versus Canadian. That's my thesis. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think that's where the potential is. Okay, so this is very exciting. So bottom line is you have the resource, you have catalysts right now for creating value in terms of the existing project, the milestones coming up.
Right.
You have this new partnership, which is going to be bringing additional projects, additional acquisitions to create value. Frank, so for anybody that, again, for new people in the audience, can you tell us a little bit about your background, in the mining sector?
I've worked with, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So sorry, yeah, we got a delay on the. So can you tell our audience a little bit about your background in the mining sector, as well as some of the other key players on the team?
Sure. I've been in the business for beyond 30 years now. I have a business degree and a law degree. Started off as a lawyer working for Canadian public mining companies, building gold projects, copper projects, lithium projects, potash projects around the world. Moved from outside counsel to inside counsel, and then ultimately up through the executive ranks. And this is the third company I've acted as the CEO of.
Okay. And who are some of the other key members of the team, like in terms of for the production side and everything?
We have a VP exploration right now. Again, given the chaos that the company went through over the past year, I'm the new CEO. I've been in the chair for about 3 months now. And as we move forward with the development of our existing project, as we look for acquisition targets, we intend to build out the team. But it's early days on building out the team. But given my background in the industry, there's lots of people I can call out to build out the team, either for exploration and or development and or production and operations.
Okay, no, it's very exciting. No, so you're really, for some context, so the company went public. Really, I think the opportunity for investors is at Snow Lake, it's what we call, it's like a fallen angel. Sometimes you have these IPOs, the stock comes out, and all of a sudden the institutional support vanished. It was these kind of busted IPOs, and then there was internal chaos and everything, and that's all been resolved. Yeah, and again, here we are moving close, advancing towards getting this into commercialization. So really, it's almost, I would say, this is like day one. This is, I would say, it's really a ground floor opportunity, but with an existing resource. It's a ground floor opportunity. So it's a ground floor, but you actually have something there, and it's undervalued. Sure. So I think that's, to me, the compelling aspect of this. Let's wrap up with this. What kind of news flow can investors expect going forward, like over the next, let's call it, we're already in basically November. So the next into the end of the year, next 2 months, 60 days, what are some of the things that you're working on that we could expect to see news announcements on, if you could share that?
Sure. We're looking to set up our winter drill program, and that will also include the kickoff of our pre-feasibility study. We intend to do that this fall, certainly before winter. The winter drill program will continue over the winter into early next year. Again, environmental baseline work continues throughout the year. And I guess the third thing is we are looking at the recent decline in the overall market, and obviously being a NASDAQ listed company, we see that actually as an opportunity to increase our resource base through potential acquisitions and or project generation with this group, Critical Discoveries.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you're able to say, but are you looking at any potential acquisitions right now? Like, how close are you? What's the pipeline of?
We are looking at, we are looking at a number of acquisitions right now. Obviously, for confidentiality reasons, I can't tell you any more details about them, but there's 3 active ones on my desk right now that we're doing due diligence on.
Okay, so there's a pipeline. There's a pipeline of potential acquisitions, which is
sure. No guarantee they'll be done, but we're actively out there and actively doing due diligence on a number of potential acquisitions right now.
Okay, and so the winter drill program, again, this is to expand. This is to expand.
It's to expand the current resource. That's correct.
Okay, the current resource. Okay, very exciting. All right, Frank, thank you for the update, and we look forward to hearing more from Snow Lake in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much for having me.
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to click that like and subscribe button to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also get the notifications to get updates on all our latest videos. And of course, make sure you get a copy of my #1 bestseller book, 10 Bagger Blueprint, #1 bestseller on Amazon. Gives you my proven framework, the proven system for finding stocks that can go up 10x to 100x. Now look, I've created over $1 trillion in wealth for investors over the course of the last 25 years. And this book gives you that proven framework, a proven 10-step system for finding those stocks which can go 10x to 100x. It tells you the signals to look for, when to get in, when to get out. It goes into fundamentals, technicals, charts, all the stuff that you need. So again, 10 bagger blueprint on Amazon, and here's to your 100x.